station, and you can watch good things. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV, and today you get to hear about one of my favorite topics, that is space. We've got the Astra project at NASA Stennis. This is a historic and a very exciting project for the center because it's their first in-space mission. And joining us to tell us a little bit more is Dr. Lauren Underwood. She currently serves in an engineering technology program management role at Stennis, and she functions as the project manager and point of contact for NASA's Mars Campaign Office. Welcome, Dr. Underwood.
Thank you for having me.
You must have a really long business card.
Well, not exactly, but I do get to do some really cool stuff. I will say that.
Yes, y'all do there at NASA. I mean, at the Stennis Space Center, and I love getting the opportunity to share that with Mississippi and hear on good things. And this is pretty exciting and historic. So how is this y'all's first in space mission?
Wait, can you say this again? I'm so sorry.
No, yeah. So tell us how this is important or significant, being your first in space mission.
Well, as you may or may not know, or probably your viewers do, Stennis is primarily known for ground testing rocket engines. So we're an operational facility that, does things on the ground. But part of that work involves doing and using software. And so we have some really amazing computer scientists and software engineers who have been able to leverage the work that we do at Stennis on the ground to develop something that is now in space.
Super cool. Okay, so I called it Astra, but that's ASTRA. Do y'all call it that
Correct.
for short, or tell us what it means in full?
So it's an acronym for the title. NASA, we're all about, using our letter acronyms. It's Autonomous Satellite Technology for Resilient Applications. And so Astra, the short version of that very long title.
I prefer Astra, if that's okay, Dr. Underwood. As I'm sure you...
Absolutely.
Yeah, y'all do on your day-to-day. So this is hardware or software that's been developed there at Stennis. So how did it get up there? Or I know it's already in space. So what took it up there, and then how will you all at Stennis be, I guess, monitoring it or utilizing it or researching it, or what happens next?
So we're just at the beginning stages right now. Last week, we were a ride share with a partner, a company called Stennis Space, who has a small satellite called LizzieSat. So we were on their small satellite with multiple other small satellites who were launched from the Transporter 10 SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket last week, March 4th. And that's how that happened. That was kind of a mouthful, I guess. So SpaceX launched the rocket, and they deployed a whole bunch of small satellites last week.
What a world we are living in, Dr. Underwood, to have ride sharing for satellites.
Well, that's how people can do technology demonstrations in space with these ride shares. So it's an awesome opportunity.
It just sounds, I think we all think of ride share as terms in like Uber or, Lyft or, whatever it may be, and kind of coming and picking you up. And
that's a great analogy, actually.
It's
kind of like the same principle.
And it's mind-boggling. We're doing that, for things in space, but it's, it's super cool for that way. Okay, so they're at Stennis. Now that Astra is sort of, I guess, in place or in space, what are y'all doing on the ground? Or is it just doing its job, and then you guys will see how, report back? Or is there some kind of, not manipulation, but able to control? Or are there things happening on the ground with Astra in space? Or how does that work?
So we're really still at the beginning stages. So step one was, riding on that rocket to get into space. Step two was the satellite being deployed. And step three will be waiting until our payload is actually activated. So that's at the step we're at right now. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until that happens. And then when that happens, we'll be able to receive data at our payload operations center that's now at Stennis Space Center. But we're
Gotcha.
still kind of like waiting for that to happen. So it kind of happens in steps.
How long is that wait, Dr. Underwood?
I mean, it just depends. So, for in some cases, it could be the very next day. It depends. And then in other cases, it can take a little longer. In our situation, because we are a ride share, we have to wait until we are activated by the company who owns the satellite. So generally, we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks.
That's not terribly long. I would have thought it may have been a little bit longer than
No.
that.
I mean, we're excited, though. So
now, I don't think Stennis is going to stop testing engines anytime soon, correct?
Correct.
But this is
Yes.
kind of something you guys are sort of moving forward in, is sort of this autonomous systems, or having an autonomous systems laboratory there. Is that just expanding upon the cool things that can be done or that people will come to Stennis for?
Absolutely, yes. Actually, NASA Stennis just released their strategic plan for 2024 to 2028. And of course, the first mission is propulsion testing, but also autonomous systems is part of their strategic plan. So we're really excited to be, branching off.
Yeah, and just growing the cool opportunities there, and for people to better understand all the good work that goes on at Stennis, and to create jobs and neat opportunities. So, Dr. Underwood, how did you find yourself, in this really unique position to do this on a daily basis? Because your job's cooler than mine.
I feel so lucky and so fortunate to work with such an outstanding team. And I remind them of that all the time. It really takes a village, right? It takes everybody collectively working together to achieve, these new innovative goals. So I'm from the coast. I went to college on the coast and just stayed here. I'm actually, from New Jersey, but went to school on the coast and just was fortunate enough to get a job at NASA Stennis, and fortunate enough to be working with the Autonomous Systems Lab and the outstanding team that's there.
And all of this technology is doing nothing but growing and providing, new opportunities. So, Dr. Underwood, we don't have any, I don't think, car riders today because it's spring break, but parents are listening. If they've got kids who are fascinated with STEM or a lot of this robotics competitions and things that are picking up speed, what's your encouragement to keep them encouraged in that?
Whenever I have the opportunity to present or talk to students or university students or do any outreach, the number one thing is stay in school. Advance your education, because nobody can ever take that away from you, and you can always use it no matter what. So that's always like my number one piece of advice.
Because these autonomous, I guess, vehicles or autonomous sort of technology, that's kind of like the robots, right? Like the team, I know you may not know much about those teams, but they build robots that do things on coding, sort of the building. Is that kind of related?
Well, that's like just the beginning.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, for real.
It's really just the beginning. So, yes, we need robots, but we also need systems to be able to take care of themselves. Not only that, but we need those systems to be able to communicate with each other, and without having humans having to operate and control. Because once we go beyond low Earth orbit, it becomes more and more difficult to communicate with an army of people from the ground. So you have to have autonomous systems that can take care of themselves. So when you land a rover or a habitat, and maybe humans are there on the moon with those things, or maybe not. But when we do send humans there, you have to be able to have confidence that those systems are going to turn on and operate as expected when the humans get there. So, robotics are one thing, but then having systems be able to take care of themselves is a whole nother really important factor.
So cool, Dr. Underwood. Okay, you got to come back in 4 to 6, 8 weeks whenever y'all get up and running and give us an update on Astra. How about that?
Absolutely. I would love to.
All righty. Well, I appreciate your time. Kudos to your team and everybody who's gotten it this far. I think that's pretty cool. It's right there at Stennis Space Center on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for inviting me.
All righty. Stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.